And we're live, boys. Woo! Woo! How we doing?
We're live.
I'm hearing double feedback. Or what is
Officially.
this?
We are officially live.
Listen, we had some great feedback from the last episode. We had one of our listeners hit us up and they said, "What great nostalgia." We were talking about snow, the snowstorm.
Oh, yeah?
It was great nostalgia. It was a lot of fun, a lot of energy. Let's keep it up.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
You sure?
I'm doing good. You guys are doing
us up
good.
and said
Life
that?
is moving forward. It's Christmas
I don't
season.
believe you.
Fuck off, dude. He does everything to stifle progress.
Oh yeah, that's me.
All right, stifler.
Stifling
That's
progress.
That's their new nickname, the stifler.
You should see me with the government. All I do is stifle their progress.
Wait, that took a weird turn.
I'm a progress stifler.
Listen, I accomplished something quite large in my life this past weekend with the help of these boys, and we have some fun planned tonight. We've got glass encased
You make it sound
cigarios.
make it sound a little dirty.
Well,
We have some fun planned tonight.
we're going to light those stogies up and we're going to enjoy the shit out of them because
I feel like this is my thing now. I'm just
To eat into the
eating
mic.
and it is
Every episode.
there's so much mastication happening into that microphone.
I know it's like
It is savage.
I know, I gotta remember that I am on the mic. I gotta put it away from me.
I know we're not live at our normal time, but thanks for being patient with us.
Yeah, all the thousands of people that are waiting.
Hey man, there was multiple people that hit us up that we
Yeah.
were late, so let's keep it real. All right, you want to the stifler tax back. All right, it's the second time. You're on notice. Oh, don't you dare! Three people just tuned out. God dang it!
Billy's the optimizer.
Yeah.
I am the
Because let me tell you.
I'm the elementary school playground peacekeeper. You know, like that sixth
You're
grade.
the hype man.
I like that role.
Because
That was
I'm the
so
feel
unhype
good
for a
energy.
hype man.
I like that role.
Well, I'm thinking about it. I'm introspective too. Yeah.
Loki.
Yeah.
It can be multiple things. You want to dive into it?
We could, yeah. I finished it. I know it's a couple months late from when it released. Maybe just 2 months.
And newsflash, spoiler, it blew his balls off.
Okay. See, that's the hype man. It was good.
I am. You
He's
guys
like a-
know me. I'm this or this.
You're a
There's
car-
nothing here.
You're a car salesman. Like
Oh God! Don't you dare!
you
I'm
are.
a
Like,
yes,
car
you
salesman.
sell everything that is so fucking hard. Something that could be like averagely good could be like the most amazing thing you've ever experienced in your life. Or
The fire
on the
giant.
flip side of that,
Melania.
It's so bad.
on the flip side of that, if it's just like not that good, it could be the worst horse shit you've ever seen in your life, too.
Dude, my life is binary. I think it's a positive thing. I look everything through that lens. It's like, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? And I translate it to that always. And it's either a net good or a net bad. And then that's how that's my guiding light. There is no gray.
All right.
So Loki was good. Kyle's
Yeah.
still a fucking simpy boy that's never seen it.
That doesn't apply.
Anti-simp. What would you call that? Hater.
Hater. No, he's a
Anti-
he's a hipster.
What's the opposite of a simp? A hater.
Marvel's too
Worst.
mainstream now for Kyle.
No, Marvel has been dog shit lately. I hate to admit it. I'm a
So-
huge fan, but they've been disappointing me. But I haven't seen Loki, so I'm not going to chime in on this conversation.
I called my boy Kevin Feige up, and he talked to me. He said, "Hey, we're delaying everything in 2024, 2025. We're pushing it out.
That's what he told you.
He did, and
Call him Kevy.
he's like, "We're
Does he
gonna
have
make
any
this right."
nicknames for you?
Yeah, Bewee.
Pee-wee.
Do you call him Kevy?
Can you imagine?
Hey, Kev.
Kev.
Yo, Big Kev.
Yo, Big Kev.
And he's like, oh, hey, Pee-wee, what's up?
The grown man call me Bewee. In a serious fucking thought. All right, tonight, folks, you might notice that we are on one. We smoked the tiniest cigars already.
That's a euphemism.
No, it's not. We actually did a very bad thing. We cut up a cigar into thirds, and we're very disappointed. So we went out to the store. We got some new ones. And in the cup tonight, we are rocking some very mild-mannered absinthe,
Sprite and absinthe.
Sprite and absinthe. So we're feeling good. The vibes are high.
55% alcohol content.
And I'm
Yeah.
eating pretzels.
But no
Just
joke.
say
These
that.
guys are absolute rock stars, great friends. Dylan less so because he didn't finish the project with me. Kyle was there
Hey.
actually 3 times. Dylan was only there once, so let's remember that.
I'm
Okay,
not
so
as
he
good a
was
friend.
there. No, but no, you know what?
I was there from the beginning.
This was such a colossal undertaking from like learning everything to accomplishing it and seeing it through and visualizing what we wanted. Very happy to be done with it. And you know, have you guys ever like accomplished anything in your lives?
Did we mention to them?
What we did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started
Did
off
we say
backyard
like
project.
landscaping? Okay. Now to go back to your other question, have I
Have
ever
you ever
accomplished
anything in
no.
your life? No. But you guys know, like, I didn't even get this. This is kind of a detour. Maybe it's like a little.
It's a way detour. We were going to talk about Loki.
Oh, I don't give a shit about Loki. They don't care about Loki. They care about this.
All right.
All right.
Billy's a little off the rails right now.
I'm off the rails. And the reason is I want to give you insight in how I think. When I graduated college, I was not proud of myself. It was like
yeah, that's nothing to be proud of.
I know, right? And I was like, everything was, I did it and moved on. I never had like stopped to smell the roses. And I always hated that in my life because I always felt like I was doing a disservice to myself for not appreciating like that 5 years of effort that I
Yeah.
went through. And because it was like everybody I knew had college degrees. So it was just like, that was the next step, you know? And so I have put in rules in my life, and cigars are one of them. And it might seem just so stupid. It might seem like a very stupid thing, but it is a way for me to take a second, stop everything, and every time I have a cigar in my life, it denotes like a big moment. Whether I'm like having a good time with my friends or accomplishing something that I started with knowing nothing about, learned everything I could about landscaping, how to plan, visualize, put things together. I mean, 0 to 100, it was blank slate to what exists out there now, which I'm very proud of. So closing that out with enjoying a cigar the other night and then doing it again tonight with you guys, that it's as silly as it may seem, that is my way of maintaining like mental health balance, because I've never appreciated my accomplishments before. I've never taken the time. It's always what's next. I do this in video games. I do this in my achievements in life. It's just okay, knocked it out. I take no second. So this is my way of
Slowing down.
forcing myself to slow down and say, hey, take a second,
Jingle
breathe
Beast
in.
says it's not silly.
I totally agree. It is a learned thing, and it's a forced action that I take upon myself, but it feels so good.
And also refusing to write checks.
Yes, as we learned tonight.
No.
That's
the
a
source
moral
of-
standpoint.
That one is about as dumb as it gets. I'm sure you guys have like silly things about yourselves too that
No,
you just refuse. No, you guys are flawless.
none.
But I don't know. What do you guys? And we could get back to Loki if you want. But like, do you guys How do you handle like accomplishments, success, things like that? Like, because I suffer from imposter syndrome pretty heavily, and I struggle with like recognizing things in myself. Like, hey, you're actually killing it. Like, you're doing a really good job. And like, do you guys have like a ritual around celebrating successes, appreciating other people's successes? Like, I remember when you decided to go back to school, I think I called you up and left a
Yeah.
voicemail, and you thought it was like the weirdest thing ever.
No,
like,
but
you thought
also
it was cool.
it was so cool. I would say I'm not the best at recognizing like what I've done, and what I used to do when I was a manager is, and I still have this portfolio. I should look at it more, but I kept a file of like all the compliments or all the things I got from my tellers, like nice letters from customers, and I would from time to time I'd take it out and I'd read it, just to like kind of remind myself that yes, you are doing good. Like it's you don't.
Man, that's extraordinarily healthy.
Yeah, I know.
I haven't done it in a while. I need to do it. My new job, I don't get that type of praise anymore.
Public
or
feedback.
public feedback like that. And plus, where I used to work, we had these pins. They got rid of them, but that was amazing too. I still have that in my room. But it's I need to get back at doing something like that because that was very fulfilling and helped drive
Cathartic.
me. Yeah.
Wow.
What about you? I feel like you're similar to me.
I don't think I do suffer from imposter syndrome. To this day, I feel like to get to the point where I'm kind of at right now in my career, I've kind of faked my way through everything. And then I slowly started to realize that's kind of what everybody's doing, so I don't feel as bad about it. But I have a problem with hanging on to negatives more so than the positives. I mean, I'm sure I've gotten compliments throughout my career, but I don't remember those. Like, I don't think about those. I think about everything I've ever effed up on. Like everything I've ever done
Yeah.
wrong. That's what I focus on.
When you receive negative feedback, whether it be like in an evaluation.
Oh,
or
you mean like every day?
like negative feedback, whether it's an evaluation, like somebody saying something to you, like, man, you always fuck that up, or man, you need to be better at this, or whatever. Like some kind of feedback that is like an opportunity for growth. How do you internalize that? Is that something that you dwell on for like a long time, or do you rationalize with it and like?
I've become very comfortable, and this is not, I mean, this is going to sound really like, I don't know. It's going to sound darker or like
Hit
more
me.
emo than it really is, but I've become very comfortable with failure because that's the number one way I improve myself. Everything I've ever learned, especially in my career, everything I've ever learned was because I did it wrong the first time. And it's slowly but surely, it's like evolution. It's slowly but surely made me like a master
Yeah.
at things. So like, I don't think I dwell on it too much, but I definitely give more credence to my failures than my successes. But I'm not like losing sleep per
Yeah,
se.
yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of compartmentalize it.
Yeah.
See, for me, like I am such a solutions, and I think that this is why I never celebrated my success, because it's like when bad things happen to me, it's like, okay, that happened. What are we doing to fix it? And my brain like immediately jumps to that. It comes to me in like challenges with work, challenges with school, death. Like I just okay, this happened. What are we gonna do? How do we launch from here? What is the next steps?
Yeah.
And like in my role, in my job now, my job is basically to serve a whole host of stakeholders, and there are different parts of the business that are represented across a very varying group of people. And there's particular individuals in those that really challenge me. And it can be like and my boss is always providing me this feedback, but like it could be very challenging in the sense of like the conversations get a little hairy and a little frustrating, and there's tensions back and forth, and you're kind of like not running into the roadblocks, and you're kind of running into roadblocks that are just like showstoppers. You can't even get off the launch point. But the way that like I internalize that, and like my bosses encourage me to not think this way, but I can't help it, which is I hear this, like I'll have this negative interaction with like with this stakeholder, and it will be like they're completely acting irrational. Like I presented my case, they're acting completely irrational, but I can't accept that because there's nothing, I can't do anything with that.
No.
Like, okay, they're irrational. What do I do? Just I go back and they're irrational. That's it. Wash my hands clean and move on. No, I don't want to represent myself that way. I don't want somebody to think of me that way. And I want to ultimately help this person. And so like, I'm always trying to internalize it. Like, okay, they're irrational, but I also see their frustrations, and this is how I can kind of try and help. And like my bosses all the time is like, no, like let people be crazy. Like you're gonna have that. You just have to live within that space. You're never gonna change that. And I agree with that to some extent. But like the solutions person in me, where it's just like, how do we solve this problem that you're having? How do I help you? How do I fix that? My brain is always like, I'm very critical of myself to like, okay, this problem sucks. What did I do to create this problem? How am I assisting this problem to continue? How am I going to solve this problem? Because if I don't, it's just going to be this constant feedback loop, and it's not going to get better. So how do I get to that? What is that next step, and how do I get there? And it's like, I'm always driven towards that. and it can be honestly very negative
Yeah.
for myself.
I feel like I compare myself to others a lot. And like, so I find myself comparing myself to someone who's had my position for like 20 years. And I'm like, you know, why do they have it all down? You know, and I'm like, why don't I? And I'm like, I've only done it for like a year and they've done it for 20 years. So I don't really think about that. And then also if I feel like I'm doing something right and I do like, I get praise for it, there's always that, no matter what it is, there's always that part of my head that I'm like, okay, I did my job. Like, why am I getting praised for doing my job? It's like when someone's in balance in their drawer at the end of the day. It's like, congratulations, you did the bare minimum, is what it feels like. At least to me. I never give that vibe to other people, but that's how I've always felt about it.
Like you met requirements.
Yeah, I met requirements.
You didn't go above and beyond. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I identify with that entirely. What about you?
Go for it, Dylan.
Do you
You looked like you were ready to go. So
I got nothing to add.
Do you guys have any ritual? So like this is a learned discipline and it's very recent. Like we're talking literally the last 2 years because I did not like I didn't like how I felt about myself and my accomplishments. Because when I would remove myself from the situation, I was like, okay, here's a guy who's X years old. Income is this. This is what you've accomplished. Married, house, blah blah blah, dog. What here's the boxes you've checked. Are you happy, or why aren't you happy? Like where would you expect their happiness level to be? And it was not lining up. And so like I don't know, like my last job we had like a life coach that was part of the job. It was like the owner's daughter. It was kind of weird. It was like a nutritionist, but it was like they were also this whole thing. Yeah, it was kind of stupid. But like they set goals, and I think I've mentioned this to you guys before. But like she was really, she like addressed all these areas and was like, okay, your like financial happiness, whatever it might be, fine, but it's like all these other areas you can't neglect, and it seems like you've neglected those. And so like I set a goal at the beginning of that year, which was before I joined the podcast, or you guys even started the podcast, which was to find best friends. Because I didn't feel like in my life I had that.
Aww.
I've told you guys this before.
I know you have.
But like, so like that was an active goal that I had to set in my mind and in reality to go and achieve. And so like this is like a planned discipline of like, if there's anything that you accomplish, stop and celebrate it. Whether that's going to dinner.
He just ended at stop.
Yeah. Stop, and you're done. But like I just never did that before. And so it's like a forced thing, and I do really enjoy it. It's like really good for my mental health because like after the fact I can think about it and go, you know what? I wrapped that up and I celebrated. And I feel like it's taking the time to recognize, dude, you put in a lot of effort into that. Love yourself.
That is an extremely healthy approach. And I've yet to find my solution to that.
Now that I'm thinking on it, what happens with me is I just happened, because I'm very proud of like the friends I've made in my friend group and stuff like that.
You have a very healthy social life.
And what I found when it comes to like praise, I was just thinking on it here, is that I've surrounded myself with friends who, if I accomplish something and I tell them, they're like, oh, let's go celebrate. When like that's not a thought to me. I'm just like, oh yeah, I got a promotion. And then Billy will be like, well, shoot, man, that's awesome. Let's celebrate. Or like Julian Kyle will be like, let's go to dinner. So it just happened to be where I got set up like that. So that's how I'm getting that fulfilled, is my friends happen to outwardly recognize my accomplishments.
Yeah.
Because I tell them, but that to me, I'm just like, it's just something that happens. Mm. Why do you guys hate Grand Theft Auto 6?
Yeah, we should address that, right?
Let's get into it. We hate it because it's not coming out tomorrow.
Wow. So clickbaity.
What up, Daniel? How you doing?
That is, are we those people now? Just trying to get people to watch? So
no,
we're saying,
Billy, no, but we actually do have
100%.
Discussion. Billy, he's not into it.
You don't like Grand Theft Auto?
I'm
Me and
not
Kyle do.
into. Okay, so I'm not into. I am not into games that like rely heavily on roleplay. I'm all into combat systems. There's really not combat in.
Yeah, there is.
Come on, you're gonna call that
Shooting.
Not
excuse me,
combat
I'm
Grand
sorry.
Theft Auto?
I'm sorry. I need to expand combat. Gameplay.
What?
Hear me out.
I'll
I
listen
am
to your
very-
flawed argument.
Hear me out. My whole enjoyment from playing video games comes from what is the gameplay. And GTA's gameplay model is not interesting to me.
That's
It
better
has
than
a
there's
model.
No
I
gameplay.
didn't say, I never said that. You interpreted it that way. You jumped to
There's
conclusions.
a lot of syllables in interpreted.
But I do not, I'm not a fan of like role playing.
Have you ever played Grand Theft Auto?
Yes, a little bit.
What
I
was the
played
last
GTA
one you
5.
played?
GTA 5.
5?
I hosted a LAN party. And all my
Wait,
buddies
did you
came
play
over and we-
online?
Yeah.
Oh, that to me, and I don't know, Kyle might have a different opinion, but to me, I've never gotten into online, and I think that's the weakest part of GTA 5.
Yeah.
What I was saying, and we were talking in Discord earlier about it, and I was mentioning because Billy said he didn't like it, and then I asked like, have you ever played Red Dead? And I was like, I would argue personally, to me, the story is what's the best part of those games. Now, GTA 5, the story was good.
It was weaker than 4.
It was weaker than 4, but like Red Dead Redemption 2, that
Of the
story,
best
one of the
stories
best
ever.
stories out there. And the gameplay itself, while fun, it's a lot of go from point A to point B on your horse, and you talk to a character on the way, shoot some bad
Third-person
guys,
shooter.
and then it's just that over and over. But to me, a big part of it is that story because they like to tell stories that we don't get to see often of like bad guys.
Yeah, in
aren't
video
necess-
games,
yeah.
I guess that would make sense. I mean,
And they're also
story
just good.
aside, it looks very technically impressive. The trailer, looking at it, like there's some shots that looks like it's real life, like
Yeah.
until you zoom in on some NPCs. But like some of those those wide shots and those like scenery things, like what engine does Rockstar use? Do they have like their own engine or do they use? I'm curious
I
because
don't know.
it looked super.
Have you guys
crisp.
seen how much the budget is for this?
Oh, dude, it's probably $1 billion.
like $1 billion?
I think
probably?
it's $2 billion.
Yeah, I believe
It
that.
had 80 million views in like 18 hours, the trailer, which is more than Cyberpunk. I was reading an IGN article. It's like more than Cyberpunk, God of War, and like one other big launch, like combined.
GTA 5 on launch day made $600 million. I'll never forget that. It was like the most insane stat I've ever heard. They used the Rage game engine, which is called the Rockstar Advanced Game Engine.
That's a pretty cool title.
Yeah.
Not gonna
So-
lie.
You didn't even like to drive around in GTA and just
No,
run into people?
there's a time and place for me. Like it's I'm not saying it's a bad game or anything like that. It's just that those types of games don't appeal to me.
Gotcha.
Like I would spend next to no time in it. I played GTA 5 and I basically would try to trigger like a 5-star alert, drive onto the military base and see how long I could survive. I've watched countless clips of people role playing and having fun that way. I've seen people do these crazy like jumps where they'll hit this ramp and then fall off this mountain and like glide perfectly through these two buildings and land on this little spot or whatever. Those are like really cool to me, but just having like a sandbox environment to just sit there and kind of waste time, I don't know. That's not.
This is wild. I looked up
That's not my
GTA
kind of game.
GTA 6 trailer. There's articles from Bloomberg, NPR, CBS News. Like, it's transcended video games. Like, Grand Theft Auto's on another level. I think it looks fun. Story-wise, I think, Dylan, you're the one that said it kind of looks like a Bonnie and Clyde type thing.
Yeah.
How do you think the gameplay, like, are we going to switch back and forth?
Well,
Or...
I thought so. It's either we switch back and forth, or Kyle brought up a good point before the podcast here is that it might be like Far Cry, the most recent one where you get to choose right at the beginning, male, female. But
Yeah.
I don't see why if they have two protagonists, why they wouldn't just let you switch, like because they already have that technology for the previous
Yeah.
one.
But that was actually one of the things people didn't like because they felt like it, instead of don't get me wrong, people fell in love with characters like Trevor and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
everyone at launch, everyone felt like it was kind of three almost good stories rather than one great one.
Yeah, versus like Arthur.
Yeah.
Focuses on Arthur. Great story. in Red Dead.
Maybe the dude's just a supporting character and he just plays the chick.
It could be. Maybe she's the main character. The only thing
Yeah.
with that is why. My question then would be, why did they show both of them right at the end of the trailer? They have
Yeah.
them like up front.
It's true. Maybe the next trailer will be the guy focused
Could be.
instead of the girl.
But I think it's cool. This is going to be Rockstar's first female protagonist.
Has any other game in the past had a female protagonist?
I don't believe so.
I mean, Red Dead had some pretty strong female characters,
Yeah.
but you couldn't play as them. So it looks like a lot of fun, and I wasn't hyped for GTA at all because I didn't want to let myself get hyped, especially for something that's not going to come out and
For a whole
anytime
2 years,
soon. But after watching that trailer, I'm like, oh damn, this does look like a lot of fun. Not gonna lie, and it kind of put me on board the hype train a little bit. But I'm still, I don't want to let myself get too hyped because I don't want to sit on the hype for like 2 years.
We
'Cause
don't want
there's-
to pull a Cyberpunk.
It's very likely that I don't think they're not gonna flop
Yeah.
at launch. There's no way. Rockstar is just too established. But it's very likely the game will get delayed into 2026.
You think so?
Yeah, Red Dead. That happened to Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto. Both of their announced trailers said it would come out like a year before it actually came out.
These guys probably have some of the most good faith that exists, right? In terms of
Yeah.
if they did, let's say like Take-Two wanted to get a little sloppy and push the game out when it wasn't done, and I'm not just speculating here. I feel like this would be they would even have a longer leash than CD Projekt Red.
Oh, they 100% do already.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. So like, if it was a total flop, they'd be like, "No, we're gonna make it right," and then
Rockstar will have controversy at release because it's Rockstar,
100%,
and they always do.
Well,
But the game is not going to be broken.
there'll be like one bug, and everyone will be flipping out.
Well, they
How-
always have controversy. Sorry, Dylan.
No,
They
you're
always have controversy over like.
Lord.
Sex
Well,
or
with Grand
something.
Theft Auto, the controversy is there's like this torture scene
too
with
lewd.
Grand Theft Auto 5, and then with Red Dead, there was this controversy that like because one YouTuber took like a feminist woman that was like calling on for women to vote, and he like fed her to a crocodile, and
I
you could do that, and that turned into this huge thing, and like so that's the type of controversy that's around Rockstar games, but it's never like. Yeah, their games sometimes have bugs, but it's never like the bugs
Yeah.
is ever an issue.
and I do wonder, do you guys think it's going to be like, how much do you think it's going to be?
the game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be $70 or $80.
Oh, it should be
I-
at least 70.
I heard a rumor that it's going to be a monthly subscription,
Ugh,
and that would be. I don't think they'd get away with that,
no.
but maybe just for
Even
the
with their
online
good
portion.
credit,
Maybe
good
just
faith.
for the online portion,
That would be understandable.
which I wouldn't even do.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in the online, but
Well, what's Grand Theft Auto like on what is the game called? Like their multiplayer
GTA Online.
GTA Online. It is. Do they have a subscription now?
No.
Is there a battle pass or anything?
They have
There's-
shark cards.
there was a lot of controversy around the shark cards.
And there's a
which
casino.
Well, they have like a crazy
you can spend a
monetiz-
lot of money on that game.
Yes,
and
they have a crazy monetization model.
yeah, and a lot of people didn't like online because it took away focus from like in times past Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead, like they had DLCs, like single player expansions, like Undead Nightmare,
Yep.
or in Grand Theft Auto 4 there's
Ballad
like
of Gay Tony.
3 different expansions. And then Grand Theft Auto 5 and
Dead 2.
Red Dead 2 didn't get anything because they were like, well, let's focus on the online.
because it's just too lucrative.
Yeah, they made way too much money.
But
doing it.
Red Dead Online was not.
Red Dead Online, I think, is it dead? It's dead now. They don't.
Yeah,
Are the
but-
servers down? Or are they still hosting? I don't know.
I don't know about that, but I know GTA Online is still
Very popular.
very popular.
Yeah.
But Red Dead was not what they thought it would be.
It'll be interesting to see if there's a like coming from a game as successful as GTA 5, right? It'd be interesting to see if they can follow up on that success and engage in like an online community as strongly as they have.
Yeah.
Because that whole GTA Online, it's like up there with Roblox and like Minecraft in terms of like generating revenue, right? I mean, it's crazy.
Probably.
Yeah,
I don't really know how much Roblox generates, but I know
like
Minecraft.
5 million a day or something.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I agree with chat. Daniel says, I feel if you had a group of friends playing Grand Theft Auto, it's way more enjoyable. But I also feel that way about any game. If you're playing with a group of people, you can get through pretty much anything as long as the people you're playing with are fun.
I just wish
I've
more
played
games,
some pretty shitty games
Yeah.
with a group of people that it felt enjoyable because I was playing it with those people.
Do you think if games just went like let's use that as an example? You feel like if games just had a cooperative like online multiplayer, like an online campaign where you could just group up with 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 friends, and they were just dropped in to help you go through the campaign, and there was like really not even an explanation as to why they were there, or there was never any direct dialogue. So it wasn't like any additional overhead to make the game. It was just an ability to sort of go through the campaign together and play cooperatively. You feel like that would be acceptable? Like on a game, let's just make it crazy, like God of War. Like you could link up with your friend, and it was like Kratos's fishing buddy. And it like and they made like one mention of it like at the very beginning when you group up, and then you just can go through.
I
co-op
think
campaign.
that could be a lot of fun, but it wouldn't work in a game like God of War or like Uncharted or like games that are like really focused as an individual thing. But like for instance, games that is super successful at that is like Baldur's Gate.
Yes.
Baldur's Gate or I always thought that like Elder Scrolls, like Skyrim would have been fun to play as a co-op game, like couch co-op or something, or even not like massively multiplayer online, but like it'd be fun to play a game like Skyrim with like 2 of your good buddies.
Did anyone
you know?
ever mod in like server
Oh
capability?
yeah, I
to-
mean
yeah.
mods have been made, but like never like an official release of that. So I think it depends on the game. But that would make
That's
it
how I
fun.
felt about. So Victory says that's how I felt about with online with Red Dead. Not fun by yourself, but when you group with a bunch of people, it totally changes things.
Mhm.
Is Red Dead online?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Hmm.
It
It died.
didn't. It wasn't nearly as successful as GTA Online though.
Oh, that's what you're saying. They abandoned and stored.
Yeah, I mean, they still have servers, I guess, because I looked it up, but they haven't released like content for it in a long time. And
Versus GTA Online, they're releasing steady updates. Real quick. So, in 2019, GTA Online had made 600 million.
600 million.
Mm-hmm.
In 20
just
when-
in
when,
microtransactions.
2019?
2019.
It's
Was
bigger now, I think.
Yeah.
That's
So,
less.
but just in microtransactions.
It's nuts. No wonder they don't do any expansions anymore.
Well, it's just so lucrative to just sell skins in games. It's
No.
unbelievable how much money people will spend on stuff like that.
Yeah.
The only-
Minecraft, Minecraft is fun to play with friends. I've really
never played
Yeah.
Minecraft.
I tried to get us to play that one time, and you were like, "I'm not playing Minecraft," and I was like, "All right, whatever."
Well, now it's especially easy because they have crossplay.
They've had
Oh, they
crossplay
do.
for a while.
Yeah, for a long time. And I've just started playing it again. It's so different
I
than
don't like playing creative mode because that's like not really my
You like
thing.
survival?
Survival is way
Yeah.
more fun. I like just basically doing farming simulator and then surviving.
See, I could play a game like that, but I would have to be online with you guys. I would never like, all right, I'm going to go build a house.
just by yourself.
Click, 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 click.
With the super calm music.
Yeah. The piano in the background.
I have no idea what Minecraft is about. Like, I literally know not. Like, I know
At its
people
core, it's a
speedrun the
survival game. There's a
campaign.
way.
But
to
like, if you
beat
stand
it
there, it's like zombies are coming after
at
you.
night, yeah.
Okay.
There's like in the end, well, not even the end goal. It's just a goal is you can beat the Ender Dragon. And then, but there's like so much other stuff you could do. Like you could have a farm like Kyle does. You could do like what me and Jinglebees are doing is we built our house right next to a ravine, and we go in the ravine and we mine for diamonds and stuff. And there's like monsters and lava down
Yeah,
there.
and you get that diamond pickaxe and make an obsidian portal to the netherworld. And then
Go
you fight demons, and it escalates really quickly.
Yeah.
It's a farming simulator / demon hunter / Doom.
Damn.
I want to look up if there's. I know there's a Doom mod.
Oh, absolutely. There has to be.
That'd be fun. Just have Minecraft.
Play the music,
Yeah.
rip and tear.
Dylan got lava happy with his bucket.
Oh yeah, I love
Sounds
the
about right.
bucket.
When you fill lava
In
up with it and
Minecraft.
throw it
Yeah,
at
you-
people?
Do you know how buckets work in Minecraft?
Do you know how buckets work in real life?
In real life?
I don't either.
So in Minecraft, a bucket is like
Like a weapon?
not a weapon, but it is way cooler than in real life. You can put lava in it, it's fine. Like you could, and what it does, you go to the source.
I only buy really good buckets in real life, so mine can hold up.
I don't know, but you go
Stainless steel.
It's made by Carhartts.
when you need to fill up your lava bucket.
It's built tough.
Built by Duluth Trading
Duluth.
Company.
But you go grab some lava, you place it anywhere, and it's an infinite stream. It creates a stream source. So like you can get lava or water, and you place it anywhere, and it's just a waterfall now.
Interesting.
You can also have, if you have a bucket of water, you could jump off of like an insanely high cliff and then throw it on the ground right before you hit the ground, and the water breaks your fall.
I set up, so down into the ravine, I set up a hole we dug straight down, and then I put water at the very bottom, and then so we just fall and we hit the water, and then we're there. And then I put lava
So let's
defenses
see
around
Grand
the house.
Theft Auto do this.
Minecraft comes with Game Pass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Is it? I thought it was free to play, but
You know
I
what
do-
is?
I don't know.
maybe
if it
not.
is.
I don't know.
You know what's on Game Pass?
What?
Remnant 2. I know you wanted to play that.
Dude, I need to play that. Austin's
I'm
been
fine
bit-
getting it as long as it's free.
Dude, yeah, 100%. Did that just come into Game Pass?
Pretty recently, yeah.
Dude, I watched Austin stream that. I was actually blown away with how good the game looked. It looked like
Here's
a lot of fun.
0 to 10 Billy. He's at 10.
But for a game that I was just like, oh, what, Remnant 2, what's this all about? There was some puzzles in that game that looked so much fun. They look like so much fun.
I'd be down to try it though now that it's free.
Yeah. Liza P, would you ever try that?
I'm not that interested in it. I don't really like Victorian stuff. Like that time period, it doesn't interest me. So unless I know the game is like really good, it's not my vibe.
I want Austin to play Elden Ring so bad. If he
Why
liked
wouldn't he?
Liza P, he will. It just needs to go on sale for PC. Which I don't know if Elden Ring. I feel like Elden Ring's gone on sale like once before.
We need the DLC for Elden Ring.
Dude,
I
It's
am not gonna
kind
let
of-
myself get hyped until it's like a month from release.
Yeah.
because it's From Software is notorious for not really giving a fuck. They just
No.
do what they want to do.
I literally think they always tell you the truth. Like they're one of the studios that will just tell you the truth, because when they accepted that award, Miyazaki was what's his name?
Miyazaki?
Yeah, Miyazaki. He literally stood on stage. He's like, "We'll start to really think about maybe doing a DLC."
And
And
I
he
think-
literally said that on stage as he's accepting the Game of the Year award. And I'm like, "Well, fuck! They didn't even have one planned then."
And then at that moment, every like game designer at From Software was like, "Oh fuck,
Yeah.
like all right, let's do this."
Got to kick into it.
Shit's wild, man. Absolutely wild. But God, that game was so phenomenal, man.
Elden Ring.
It was the best of all Souls.
Yeah,
But Liza P, I think, was harder than any Souls game that I played. Even
Really?
it's been so long since I played Dark Souls 2. And I
it's
know
definitely
one's
harder
always
in Dark
told-
Souls 2. That one's the easiest.
Really? Everyone
Yeah.
says that that's like the hardest.
No, you're reading from the wrong sources.
Really?
Dark Souls 2 is 100% the easiest of all the Souls games.
Even considering like a lot of the cheap bosses and the fact that like you lose humanity every time you die.
Yeah, people still think Dark Souls 2 is the easiest. I think
Interesting.
the kind of accepted hardest Souls game is Bloodborne.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Yeah. But Dark Souls 2 would be considered the easiest.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Elden Ring is the easiest.
I bet you if you, well, Mimic Tier kind of is like a nerf.
There's a way to choose.
Elden
it,
Ring
yeah.
can be the
Easy
hardest
mode.
and the easiest, depending
true.
on how you play.
That's true.
If you don't use Mimic Tiers, then it's arguably is the hardest. But then Mimic Tier is kind of like Souls game easy mode.
But I only play Dark Souls 2 with the ladle. So
No. I bet you if you Google right now what's the easiest Souls game, Dark Souls 2 would be the number one thing that
interesting.
is the number one consensus.
Yeah, but I keep pushing him to play Elden Ring, and I hope he gets it soon and I want to watch him stream it because that game, in my opinion, it actually is flawless.
Elden Ring is like the magnum opus of all of their.
But see, couldn't you say that about any of the Souls games? Like, they could be the hardest if you just make it hard for yourself.
Not necessarily.
No?
People are saying Sekiro is the
Sekiro.
hardest.
And then Bloodborne, and then Dark Souls 2 is second.
That's insane to me because every community I've ever come across, everyone always says Dark Souls 2 is the easiest.
Sekiro,
Maybe it's a speed run.
I
or
can
no hit.
I can kind of see it because it's a very much one
It's totally
one
different.
gimmick pony.
Yes.
Like, you need to learn parry, and if you don't, you can't play it. Like, there's bosses where that's an essential mechanic, and you're just gonna have a real bad time.
I feel like Elden Ring. The reason I feel like Elden Ring is the like I said, it could either be the hardest or the easiest, and it's not the same with other Souls games. If there's no clear cut like easy mode, but Mimic Tier really scales back the difficulty,
Especially at launch.
like for instance, Melania is considered the hardest boss in any Souls game ever, but with the Mimic Tier, it's not nearly as hard as say Orphan of Kos in Bloodborne. It's not even on the same level. But if you play it solo, all of a sudden it's like, okay, actually this is hard. But Mimic Tier is like a huge nerf.
Yeah.
Have you beat the game though, Daniel? You haven't beat Melania. I actually don't like using any summons for Melania because I feel she just lifesteals off of them. And when I'm on,
That's not my experience.
No.
so I beat her.
I've beat her solo and with the Mimic Tier, and I have a way easier time with Mimic Tier.
So I had to beat her solo when I went through it on New Game Plus 7 because her
Level
lifesteal-
713.
dude, her lifesteal was disgusting.
Yeah.
She would hit once and gain back 5 to 7% of her health, and she had so much health that you're just dink, 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 and I literally ended up having to just fully. She would almost full heal from her what is it? Foul dance? What is it?
Waterfowl down.
Waterfowl dance. Oh my god,
See, I've never had issues with Melina, you know.
dude. you
Because
are
she's
an
so
anomaly.
easy to stagger.
Yeah.
And when you go fight with
Duel.
two giant ass blades that you're basically wielding like skyscrapers.
So for you guys, when we originally played
Listen
Elden
to
Ring,
this asshole.
She has no poise.
Billy and Kyle, we were all on Discord together. They had already gotten to Melania.
Not only.
Billy thought it was the hardest boss ever. And he was on the hype train. He beat it, but it took him quite a few
After
tries.
hours.
Yeah. And then I get to her, and I beat her second try.
Yeah.
And I tell him, he's like, bullshit.
He didn't believe it.
Second try on literally the touted hardest fucking boss ever designed by FromSoft.
It just happened that my build was specifically designed to mess her up.
I still a part of me hates you and admires the hell out of you. I mean, that is literally you could put that on a Tinder profile. Beat Melania
I beat
second
Melania
try.
second try, yeah.
I still, though, to this day, I beat her within 5 tries, though. I didn't think she was as hard as Orphan of Kos and Bloodborne.
Yeah.
That one I spent all day on. But I still, to this day, I can't beat her with great swords. The only way I can beat her is with Rivers of Blood.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because I stagger her with the special
Yeah, she staggers pretty easy.
attack. That's the main thing with Melania is once you realize that she has no poise, you can't be hesitant. You have to be
Yeah.
super aggressive in that
Well, it's
fight.
like Renala.
Yeah, Renala.
I didn't even know there was a second phase. Like I didn't know there was phases to her fight because you stagger her right at the beginning. She's done.
Yeah.
She's
So-
obliterated. Yeah.
100%. The hardest boss, the longest I ever spent on a boss was Smelter Demon from Dark Souls 2 by far. Because that run back from Iron Keep
Is the worst.
in any fucking game ever. I actually hated it so much. So you could kill, if you killed every enemy in the same area 12 times, they would stop spawning. I cleared that area 12. Hello. We're back. Yeah. So I don't know where it cut out, but I spent like 4 to 6 hours on Smelter Demon because that Iron Keep run back was so bad. But Liza P, I didn't spend I think more than half hour on any boss. The hardest boss. Go ahead.
Part of me wants to say with that though, I think that's honestly just because we've gotten better at Souls games.
100%.
Like it's like I think if you were to go and like Liza P was the first one you played, then it would be much harder. But
Yeah.
it's because we've played so many Souls games now that we're more used to like the formula. We know how to figure it out. We know the
Yeah.
equation.
Well,
Dark Souls 2 was the first Souls game we played.
Yeah.
You got to keep that in mind. And that was a totally different type of game than anything we've ever played before.
Yeah.
If you go back to Dark Souls 2 now, I think you'd be shocked at how easy of a time you have.
Interesting.
Yeah,
You think
like-
so, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I played through Dark Souls 2 like a year ago, just for shits and giggles. And I think I beat every single boss first try. It
way.
it was nothing.
Wow.
I also
You
have a ton of
spent on
hours
that,
in that
yeah.
game, but I hadn't played it in like maybe 4 years at this point.
Wow.
And I went through and I just smoked them.
See, so give yourself credit. It's you that's
I've
gotten
grown.
better.
I've grown.
Fume
Well, I
Night,
also won't.
I spent on
Hell
Fume
no.
Night. So my then girlfriend was in college. She was studying for some test, doing homework, watching me fight Fume Night, and I consistently tried to beat this guy from like 12 o'clock noon, and I finally beat him at like 9:30 that night.
Wow.
That's without a doubt the longest I've ever spent on a boss. And I was stubborn. I didn't farm. I
yeah.
didn't do anything to better myself. I just tried it over and over and over again. And then I went through, like I said, like a year ago, I fought Fume Night. I beat him so easily that it was almost kind of disappointing. Where I was like, man, did I just suck that bad back then? Or like, I just know from software now. I just know how to play those games.
See, I don't know. Like, I'm at a point now with these games where I won't sit there and bash my head against a table for like more than an hour if I'm dying on a boss. I won't. And with Liza P, like I walked through pretty much the bosses pretty easily. There was a couple of the like mini bosses that were actually harder than bosses. There was like a Clown King one that was just a fucking nightmare. I actually had to do a whole consumable strategy for him. It was a lot. But the actual fights weren't that bad. And I actually played Liza P to fight this one boss because I thought it looked so cool. I watched Austin stream it. And it was like, I think it's called Laxasia or Laxancia or something like that. And she's like this,
Laxasia.
you know the Forest of the Giants from Dark Souls 2? That boss that you fight with the big heavy sword on like, it's like a
Talking about
knight. It's like a
Pursuer?
knight. Yeah.
The Pursuer?
Yes, the
Yeah.
Pursuer. The fight is very similar to that, and it gave me kind of nostalgia. So I wanted to go back and play that. And I loved that fight in Lies of P. I thought it was very fair. It was very clean, and like I actually made it through that fight really quickly, in about 30 minutes. And everyone considers her to be the hardest boss in the game, but I thought it was the most fair boss. and it was like a very clean. There was no gimmicks with it. And I loved that fight so much. And I wish more fights of that. There was some of the like Lies of P is like a game where you really have to like, okay, this is a puppet, so you got to apply this grease or this they call it blitz, whatever. You have to apply this blitz, and it only lasts like 45 seconds. Then you have to have like these. It's a very consumable game, like a lot of one-use things.
I'm
And I
never gonna
really
use 'em.
I hate that. I know I never use
Yeah.
them too, and I really hate that. Blocking and parrying is a huge core part of the game, and I really don't like that either. But this
You
Laxasia
wouldn't
or
like
whatever,
Sekiro.
no. I try to get into Wo
Once you
Long.
get the parry timing down, that game's not that hard.
No, well, Sword Saint Ishin.
Well, yeah. I
At
mean,
the end, he pulls out a gun. The whole time you've been fighting swords, he pulls out a gun at the end. You're like, what?
there's some like
Boom.
straight up anime moments that can happen in Sekiro though. It's kind
I
of
love. I'm
yeah.
talking about it now. I want to go back and play it. Actually, try and do a fresh playthrough because there's.
I wonder
you
if
fight
they'll do a
dragon.
second one.
I want them
Maybe-
to because they left it open.
They might. I think they'd soon. Not that I don't know if they'll do a sequel to either, but I think they'd sooner do a sequel to Bloodborne
Yeah.
than they
Well,
would.
Bloodborne came out first,
Yeah, so it'd make
so
more
it's a
sense.
little older. But yeah, I want to go play through Sekiro again because Billy, I would recommend you try and do it.
Give it a shot.
Do you like the parry? It was fun to learn.
It was, and especially
Once it
once you
clicked.
get it. There's one boss, so you'll get it. It's a Souls game up until you reach Genichiro. And he's like the gate. He's the filter. You know, like most Soul games have a filter where it's
Yeah.
like you need to learn, otherwise you're gonna hate yourself. And he's like you need to parry, otherwise you're gonna have bad time. But once you get it down with him, it feels so good. It feels like an actual sword fight.
You feel like you actually did something, and you've learned
Well, because
how to.
what it causes, the way they have it built is so it's parry timing, right? But
Mhm.
also it's the stag or it's the poise bar, which Wolong. What was the game you played?
Yeah,
Wolong?
Long. It had a progress bar, right?
It's the parry. Yeah, the poise is what they call it in
Yeah.
Sekiro. But same thing, like they stole it from Sekiro. And so what that causes you to do in that sword fight in particular, and many more after that, is you can't just do like Elden Ring and dodge, attack, and like kind of play it safe. No, you have to be up in his face. When he's not attacking, you have to be attacking. And
Yeah.
it becomes so much
dance.
more involved in a dance, and it feels so good once you get it down because it feels like an actual sword fight. Like you're like ting 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 ting. And you're
It looks
"Oh."
like that too. Like
yeah,
they animate it in a way like it's the only sword fighting game I've ever played where like you're not just bashing each other, like your swords actually like make contact.
Oh, they okay.
yeah.
yeah, and it's
You beat it?
I've only played through it once though. It's probably the one I've played the least.
and there's multiple endings that of course like any Souls game, but there's like depending what ending you choose, there's different bosses for it. Like if you choose the bad ending, I did the horrible mistake of choosing the bad ending and then not playing for like a year and then trying to go back and I'm like I can't beat this boss. I don't remember how to
Yeah.
play at all. And so I never beat the hard ending, but I beat the main ending.
Yeah.
Hard ending was hard though. I do know that.
Bloodborne had 3 endings too. There was Bloodborne was a weird game, man. But you
you
had
get
to
the
like
fetuses.
yeah, you had to get the fetuses to and then like you could either eat them or destroy them or something like that. But there's like there was you could be killed by the last hunter. That was kind of the easy ending where he just kills you and you wake up and you're no longer in the hunter's dream. Or you can fight the last hunter and then become the new last hunter, or you can fight the last hunter, kill him, and then fight the
The moon.
the moon spirit, and then become like a new god. like that was like the hardest ending. And so when I found out that ending existed, I was stubborn and I was like, I'm not gonna not get that ending.
So I want to go around. What's the hardest boss in any game you've ever fought?
Shoot. Mechanically hard or just like the
Just
one I
hardest
struggle with
to
the
you.
most?
When you
Like maybe
struggle
in
with
that
the
time
most.
you might be better now, but and like
For me, it was Smelter Demon.
Smelter Demon.
He had such an aggressive attack set, and I was running. At the time, I had a heavy roll because I was wearing Havel's armor and I wasn't leveled for it. And I also was a mage caster
That's such a weird build.
In
It's terrible.
Havel's armor.
because I like it was terrible. And it was so bad, dude. It was so bad because I didn't get the lion's cloth until the very end of my first playthrough, and then I just repped that the whole time. But I just remember that was such a fucked build. There was no resources online. We were just winging it, dude.
Yeah.
And the arena was so small, and there was really no place to hide. Like to get behind him was
And
so
also,
hard.
if you stood too close to Smelter Demon, you took fire damage.
Yes, forgot about that.
Yeah,
Actually.
so that it kind of sucked for melee players too.
It was this weird dance. And I'll never forget Kyle and I were grinding it all night. And he went to bed and I stayed up for like another hour or two and I got it. And I remember I went to bed and I woke him up. I'm like, I killed him.
And
And he
then
was pissed.
I was pissed. But then I got him in like the next hour.
Yeah, you got him the
'cause
next,
I was like,
the
all
next
right,
morning.
I can't.
He's like, I got him.
What about you, Kyle? What was your hardest boss ever?
I don't
Fume
know.
night, right?
Fume Knight's the one I spent the longest on, but weirdly, I don't know if that's because he was the hardest boss I ever fought or if I just approached it very stupidly.
What about that one boss that you were hitting and you were only doing 1 damage to and you thought that he was just super tanky, but you had to really get that item or something?
Yorm the Giant from Dark
Yeah.
Souls 3. That boss is very easy if you do it right. It's like kind of like
Fire giant?
Rykard,
Oh.
where
Yeah,
if
you need the spear.
if you don't use that spear, you're like, holy shit! Like what
Yeah.
the hell? It's the same kind of concept. So I beat that boss like the wrong way, and so again, that was me kind of being stupid about it. But man, I guess I would say Fume Knight because that's the one I spent the longest on. But like that boss is really not that hard. If I would have just
Fume Knight's
farmed,
a DLC boss, right?
yeah, if I would have just farmed a little bit, leveled up, or changed my tactics at all, I would have cut that time
You just bullied through it.
by like 8 hours. But I was severely underleveled. I was not equipped to fight this guy, and I didn't change my tactics. I didn't farm. And I was just stubborn. I didn't do anything about it except try over and over and over again. Like logically, right? If you're having a hard time in a boss, you might think, well, let me go do something for a little
Yeah.
bit. No. I was like, I need to do this. So I guess Fume Knight is the one that I probably struggled with the most, even though he's not the hardest boss I've ever beaten.
Okay. I would say mine. Have any of you ever played Hollow Knight?
Yeah.
Did you fight the Radiance?
Mm-hmm.
The Radiance.
That was
probably,
really tough.
So it's an option. It's like the secret ending, right? You have to do. Every time you lose, you have to fight 2 phases of one boss, then fight. I think the Radiance might be 2 phases. He might be 3. I don't know. But if you lose, you have to go back all the way to the beginning, fight the 2 phases to get to the Radiance. And he's the god of this. He's the sun. You fight the sun. It's pretty badass. You're this little bug, and you're like, come on, fucker. But so Hollow Knight itself. Do you know that game at all, Billy?
Mhm.
So like, you can farm a little bit, but pretty much you have all the skills after you get them, and then like that's it. And so it's like you're dashing, and it was just such a. You had to be like frame perfect on his fight because he would have like the screen. It was almost like bullet hell mixed with like Dark Souls. So it's like you're dodging all this stuff, and you have to make sure you dodge it at the exact time and make sure. And then the platform starts to fall, and then they fuck you in the end because the whole time you're fighting on this one platform, and then all of a sudden it starts to go up, and there's little platforms that you have to jump in between while dodging. And if you
Oh,
mess that
shit,
up,
yeah.
you go all the way back to fight that first boss. And he's once you get him down, he's easy, but he's not easy.
Yeah.
He's difficult in himself.
Nothing about that's easy.
Yeah, but that was difficult. That was so hard. And the every time you go to fight the Radiance, there's this like companion bug that like grabs the first boss, and she yells at you every time. She yells, "Get good!" and then you go in, and I heard that so many times.
Get good.
Yeah.
So I want to change my answer. I thought we were limiting. For some reason,
No,
I was
no,
only
any
thinking of
game.
Souls game. So it's going to be a raid from Guild Wars 2.
Okay.
And the boss is called Veil Guardian. And the reason why it's the hardest, if you go back and play the game now, it's a fucking breeze. It's super easy because power creep. But when this launched, Guild Wars 2 at that point was only 5-man content. This was the first time raids were introduced, and raids introduced 10-man content. And in that 10-man content, everybody was trying to figure out like the optimal, how do you share buffs and boons? Because everything was shared, generally speaking, across 5 people. So you had to have a lot of duplicate roles and stuff like that to share boons and buffs and figure out these bosses. This boss called Veil Guardian was very, very interesting. Mechanically, in my opinion, I played the first 4 wings. I think there's like 7 or 8 now, but I played the first 4 or 5 wings before I ultimately quit. Veil Guardian was the most mechanically dense fight, and you really had to know your stuff. It became super trivial because people were just really practiced on it because it was the very first boss, but it was very involved. So it was visually a gorgeous fight and also a mechanically involved one. So there was multiple colors. There was red was condition, green was pulsing damage, and blue was a boon that the enemy got that you had to strip before you could do any damage. And at any time the fight starts phase 1. There's portals that spawn under the boss, and they're at random. They're random spots. And if you get stuck in a portal, or if you're standing on a portal when it closes, it teleports you to a different part of the arena. And all the while, the arena's pulsing damage. So you're getting spread out. And then as the fight goes on, when you get into the final phase, 2/3 of the platform, it rotates clockwise, is lit up with insane heavy damage. There's also seekers that pulse out unfathomable damage that are attracted. They're seekers. They're attracted to any people, like the closest person. So it'll just track you and follow you. And if you stand within its bubble, or if like, let's say you're tanking the boss and a seeker makes it into your area, it'll pulse damage on everything around it, and it literally can wipe your team in like 2 or 3 seconds. It's very quick that you have to react, and you have to CC it or like use spells to push it away and move it. You have to like snare it and stuff. And then there's this screen circle that occurs that if you don't have 4 people at least, so 10-man content, 4 or I can't remember, I think it's 4, maybe 5 people standing in the circle, it spawns and is only there for like 3 or 4 seconds. And it can be random in whatever 1/3 section you're standing on this circle, it will spawn randomly in there. So let's say you're tanking on the one side of it, it might spawn all the way on the other side, and you have like 3 or 4 seconds to get there. If you don't stand in that, everyone's max health is whatever your max health is. You might not even be at max health. You get take 80% of your max health's damage. So it's almost a party wipe if you basically miss.
Damn.
And they're like just insane pulsing damage. And so when this content first came out, builds were bad. The power creep in the game was so tight. Like you had to execute as a team, a 10-man team, flawlessly to pull off this fight. And we had a very good guild doing it, and it took us multiple days to get this done. And we ultimately had to like watch strategy guides and people who would like, oh, if you tank here, rotate here, go early, whatever it is. It was so involved of a fight. It was so much fun. It was awesome.
I almost feel like raid bosses though is like a different category.
True.
Like
Because it's group content.
it's
versus solo.
designed, to be tackled as a group. So obviously it's going to be harder than anything you could ever do solo.
Yeah.
But because it's designed to be approached as a team thing. So I almost feel like that deserves its own category.
True.
Like raid bosses versus like single player bosses.
So, follow-up question, did you guys have anything else to say around that?
I think the
Bosses?
hardest boss in any game is gravity. It gets you
Yeah.
every time.
What about just life?
Smacked up.
Life. It's undefeated. Time.
That's why I fall asleep.
Time.
hanging upside
Like
down.
Rocky says, time beat Apollo Creed. It's undefeated. Takes everybody out.
That's the truth. That made me think. Billy, do you think if they release Guild Wars 3 do you think you would get into it as much as you were into 1 and 2?
If I have kids at that point, probably not. The old guild would probably get back on, and I'd probably vibe with them hard. And those guys are sweaty boys. So I would get sucked into
How
the world.
heartbroken would you be if not saying this would happen, but how heartbroken would you be if it came out and it was dog shit? Was that the kind of thing that would really hurt you, or would you be like, I still like 1 and 2, so it doesn't affect me?
Yeah, I always have that perspective about games. It's like, well, I really enjoyed the first one, but the second one was ass, right? So it wouldn't hurt me from like I don't really give a shit about the lore or anything like that. So if the story was bad,
breaking.
I would kill for them to remaster the original Guild Wars with like modern day combat techniques.
But why not just a 3?
They won't ever do that. ArenaNet's been pretty bashed around, and they're kind of just milking Guild Wars 2 at this point. It's still like a top 5 MMO. So,
I mean, World of Warcraft is still.
Well, see,
and they come out with
the reason I
classic.
ask is because, and correct me if I'm wrong though, but you still don't like have expansions for Guild Wars 2, right? Like you're not caught up.
Oh no, I'm definitely not caught up.
So, how would like you think
haven't
you would
bought
be
the
as
last 2 or
involved
3.
in Guild Wars 3?
Yes. Guild Wars 2 is like, so you guys you've never really played an MMO. So like I've accomplished
I've played Destiny.
Yeah. Billy, hold on.
Please.
Okay.
Hold my beer. I've accomplished everything that I've wanted to. I have multiple legendary weapons. I have legendary armor that I went back for and got. I've raided at the highest levels. I've done PvP at mid to low tier levels. I never was really crazy into PvP. I've done it all in that game. The new expansions are really just additional story, maybe some new skills,
Oh,
stuff
that's
like
boring
that.
story
Yeah.
in a
Oh.
game.
Me and Kyle hate that. Yes, you know.
Hey man, Guild Wars 2 is free to play and it's got like a solid 150 hours of story. If you guys don't want to get into it. But it is I've done everything that I like. It doesn't really. I don't know. For me, MMO is like one of those things that you have to be like all in or you're all out.
Yeah.
And Guild Wars 2 is meant to be like played casually, but that's not how I approach it. Like, you know, I sped ran dungeons constantly. I did fractals, which are like a competitive dungeons, I guess, if you want to call it that. I don't know what you would call that. And I did it all. I mean, I spanked that game. So
did it all.
Guild Wars 3 would definitely 100% pull me right back into it because I really love Arena and I love their style
kind of
games.
weirdly never been an expansion guy, though.
No.
I feel like every game you've ever played, once you accomplish what you want to accomplish, you're like, meh.
Except for Elden Ring. He really wants the Elden Ring
Yeah.
expansion.
But you never played the expansions for Witcher. You never played the expansions for Dark Souls. You never played the expansions for any other game that we've ever played. You've always been like, meh. Even if it's a game you loved, you still never played the expansion.
Yeah,
It is
Guild
weird.
Wars. You're like, eh.
Yeah, and what's weird is like,
Elden Ring was just a perfect game, though.
yeah,
It's
It
hard
was.
to not want more. It's about as perfect of a game as you can make.
yeah, and Guild Wars got like really formulaic with their expansions. It was like they had what's called specialization, so you had like a whole new line that you could spec skills into or spec your attributes into, and you could like use new weapons and stuff. And it just never it never intrigued me to keep that grind going. I could easily turn that back. I mean, I could literally get into Guild Wars 2 tomorrow and turn it back on and play it 8 hours a day.
How
There's no
hyped
doubt
would you
about
be
it.
if Dylan and I were like, so we've put about 10 hours into Guild Wars 2. We're really loving it. Do you want to play with us?
Dude, I would.
Would you shit your pants?
My nipples would be rock hard. Let's just put it that way. I would love that. I would love it if you guys were truly having fun. I would love it because it's like sharing that with you guys. Like that is one of my. I mean, it's my favorite title of all time. Guild Wars.
You've been trying to get me to play Guild Wars for like 20 years.
2005, 6.
like almost 20
I know.
years. This is crazy to think
It's
about.
crazy you said that and you were like, that was an exaggeration, but then you really think about it.
That's
It's
like actually not that
it's
much of an
not that
exaggeration.
much of an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Fuck, we're old.
I don't know, when did that happen?
Over time.
Yeah.
Wow, really? That's crazy.
Yeah. Time always wins.
It's undefeated.
Undefeated.
But it, Guild Wars is cool.
So
One
it
of those
took out
cool
Apollo
things,
Creed.
because you could literally have max gear in a day. Like if you played the game and hit just organically, you played through the campaign and stuff, you could literally have max gear. I literally could. I have so much wealth in that game. I could literally just give you some money and you would have max gear. And that's what I love about, like, it's not this, now that the game's kind of evolved, like, I can go back into it tomorrow and be just as effective as somebody who's been grinding it for the last 5 years. And that's one of the things, I love that core principle, is it's not this, like, gear treadmill that you get on that you're like, oh, fuck, I gotta go.
I
And
hate that.
Would you be
It's not at
would you be upset or heartbroken if I was like, I have a confession. I have 3,000 hours in Guild Wars 2.
I definitely would.
Would you
3,000 hours? I'm like, you fucking asshole.
Kyle?
And I
been
thought
pla-
the Veil Guardian raid was easy.
I've been playing daily since launch.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell Billy something?
Uh-huh.
I've been playing daily since launch.
Dude.
I have
I'm
a
actually
good
in your guild.
I have a good 22 hours in Guild Wars 2.
I was actually just talking to the wife. I'm like, I hate how much TV we watch. We need to get into a game that we can, like, use our brain.
Baldur's
I
Gate
hate
3
it.
has couch co-op,
Did you see the update,
and I've been
Billy?
really trying
For
to
Baldur's
get
Gate?
Yeah.
what?
Oh, hey,
They
Daniel.
added a bunch of quality life
Is it
stuff.
crossplay yet?
No.
Oh,
But it's
Well, then
quality
I'm
of
not
life.
Daniel.
interested.
Nothing yet. Fuck. He
But
wants to play Baldur's Gate.
It's
with me.
quality of life stuff they added. The stuff kind of you were asking for. Like it now a short rest fully does everything.
Already? That's in the game?
I think I'm like 99% sure that I
Or
read
is that like
on
a
the patch
definitive
note.
edition that we have
Not
to
only
upgrade to?
it's
does
in the
this
patch.
change
They
everything
added
about
a
the
whole
game?
different ending or 4 different endings.
That's exactly the quality. That's, you have no idea, as a spellcaster, that is a huge quality of life upgrade.
Yeah.
All of my fucking spells are one-time use until I go role play, talk to everybody in camp. 'cause can't miss them. Okay, use some
That's
bed,
my favorite
bed
part of the
spies.
game.
Oh, God.
While we're on Baldur's Gate, I want to ask you an opinion, Kyle.
Yeah.
So I'm playing through it now.
Okay.
I feel like the romance is kind of rushed.
I don't feel like it's rushed. I feel like it's a little too easy.
Okay, well, just like
Yeah.
all of a sudden it was like, oh, now I'm able to romance Karlach, like right now.
Yeah, like if you get her infernal.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Thing and-
whoa. It just
Um,
versus like Mass Effect, it took the whole game.
So I think my only issue with Baldur's Gate romances is like
They don't feel earned.
it feels like there's nothing wrong with that, but like it feels like why does everyone want to get in my pants? You know, like if you accidentally say something wrong, like oh man, they love me, like, and a part of why I don't like that is I feel like I'm constantly breaking people's hearts, and it makes me feel guilty. I'm like I don't see you that way with everybody.
Yeah, and that's a big reason, like why I think Mass Effect works so well is it gives you a lot of time of like, do you want to romance them?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to? Are you sure?
I think the best, well, Mass Effect, obviously, but I think the best designed romance in games,
Witcher.
Witcher's up there, but also Cyberpunk. They
Well,
have,
CD Projekt Red.
Now that you can snuggle,
they have earned. I feel like the romances are much more earned in those games. Like, think about all the work you have to do for Panam or Judy just to get them to finally like. Both of them don't even really like you at first.
Well, and it feels natural
It feels natural
in those
you
games.
know?
Whereas, and I mean,
And like
Baldur's Gate, it feels like I'm like,
with
am I
Shadowheart,
just a fucking
I must just be a sex
stud?
god. Like,
Yeah, they're like,
but like.
I wish I could hug you so much right now. I'm like, I barely know you.
Like Shadowheart, like we've been missioning together for a couple hours, and I'm like, "How am I holding up?" And she's like, "How are you holding up? Don't be modest. I don't think I've ever met anyone like you in my entire life."
and you're like,
and I'm like, I don't know.
Slow your roll.
I don't know if I really did that much for you.
I've barely known you for like 2 days. Like
Yeah. So I like the romances in Baldur's Gate 3, but they do feel like they're heartfelt and they're sweet, but they don't feel realistic. You know, so I can definitely support that opinion for sure.
Well, we got some stogies to like.
I wanted to bring up one more thing, just quick. Did you hear who
Choice word.
People Magazine announces #1 game of this year?
Hold on, let me think. Hogwarts Legacy.
You know,
People Magazine is
People
in the
Magazine.
gaming world?
they
I
said
know,
they
right?
did.
I
That's
can't,
why-
I
that's
can't
why I
even
chose-
wrap my head around
That's
that.
why I chose Hogwarts because it's
They
just
did
something random.
Alan Wake 2.
Oh, well, People Magazine said it's a good game, but that almost feels like they just looked up reviews and they're like, well, this one looks like
Alan
this-
Wake was first on the alphabetical list.
Yeah, like what's People Magazine?
Yeah,
I don't know.
saw that article. I was like,
That's so weird.
People love that game.
I beat it, and
Brag about it.
Do you think it's game of the year or is it just good?
I think it's Game of the Year worthy. I don't know if it should win, but I think it should be included because it is an amazing game, and I want more from them, and I want more like that. It is a very Bill. You would hate the game. You would absolutely hate
You would.
the game.
I watched a stream
It
of
is not. You hate
all
story.
investigation
It's
and
story.
story, yeah.
It is story. 100%.
And with jump scares, yeah.
Yeah, you would hate it.
I think it'll go to Baldur's.
But-
I hope it goes to Baldur's Gate.
I think you should play it, Kyle.
Game of the year.
Especially if you played
Alan
Alan
Wake?
Wake 1.
I did.
Because Alan Wake 2, they have some really cool ideas in there. And you played Control, right?
Mhm.
They are 100% connected.
No.
Like it's all in one
It's
universe
a shared
now.
universe.
And it is for sure like near the I don't want to spoil too much, but near the end you're like partnering up with the FBC, the Federal Bureau of Control,
Interesting.
to
Okay.
handle stuff. And so like it's
Everything's a shared universe now. That's
Yeah.
the new thing.
But it makes sense and it's really cool because I like what they're doing with that. Like it's the closest I think we'll ever get to an SCP game.
Yeah. Like
Is-
not a indie.
Yeah, not an indie, isn't
B
it?
level.
Like Control. So
Yeah.
I think you'd really like it because it's really heavy story focus. And if you like horror, like Stephen King,
Yeah, I might have to check it out, but I've been buying. Games are so expensive now.
yeah,
It's like
just put it on your list of to get to eventually.
maybe after Christmas.
Yeah. Well, with that, you can find us on any major podcast listening platform, YouTube, where we're streaming right now. Billy was ready to sign off, but I'm going to go into what was taken from me.
Yeah. I know. We got negative feedback last time.
Yes. But yeah, you can find us on Spotify, Instagram, any major podcast listening platform.
I did upload the last episode of Spotify rather quickly this time.
So
Good.
Yeah.
check it out. Just in case you missed the stream, you can go to Spotify.
Listen to it without
listen to it
context
without-
on Spotify.
without seeing our beautiful faces, or you can go to YouTube. If you go to live section, guess what? These are all recorded.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wow.
And I'm the negative one.
Yeah. Over here.
How dare you, sir?
There's a difference between being an energy suck and a antagonist.
You know what they say.
So are you an energy suck?
No, he is.
I, don't
I
know
think
about
you
that.
are.
I think you are too.
Right now, I feel just drained.
Wow, imagine that.
I
They
think you're-
gang up against
I
me.
think you're pretty good at sucking.
Well,
And remember, with a good
yeah,
KD, you get the